heavy. We ask that you be with the soul and spirit of Cassandra Middleton, a long-time, very valuable employee of Columbia County who passed away suddenly this past weekend. We ask, Lord, that you comfort those around her, particularly her young daughter, and help see them through this immense tragedy. We ask again, Lord, that all of our decisions made here tonight would be made to glorify you and in the best interest of the citizens we serve. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance, flag, United States of America, to the republic for which one nation, God, visible, justice for all.
Once again, we do have a full quorum tonight with all 5 commissioners present. Glad to have Mr. Morris back after a brief respite. We'll take a look at the minutes of our previous meeting of March the 30th. Satisfied with their content, we'll accept a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Any items needing clarification? Not all in favor, please raise your right hand. Do you have any more unknown changes to the agenda, Mr. Johnson?
Not to my knowledge, Mr. Chairman, other than I would point out that one item in executive session we're going to push off,
Okay.
put off a little bit.
Again, I'd like to welcome you to this meeting of the Columbia County Commission. Remind you, too, that these proceedings are videotaped. If you'd like a copy of that tape, you may get one through making an inquiry to Ms. Crawley in the Commission office. Remind you, too, that they'll be on the county website in a couple of 3 days, and you can view these proceedings there. Remind you, too, that you're invited to speak to this body. If you're not already on the agenda or have submitted a speaker request, we ask that you fill out one in the back of the room and bring it up to Ms. Crawley, and we'll recognize you at the proper time during the meeting. Again, we appreciate you being here tonight. Moving now to our special recognitions, always a good time to recognize the great employees of Columbia County, both individually and collectively. Our first presentation is the team of the first quarter, the A shift at Detention Center. Commissioner Allen is going to make this presentation. Would all of those involved please come down to the front?
Come to you. Mr. Chairman, I got to point out that when I worked on the A shift in the detention center, there was only about 3 of us in there. And
When you left, more people came on.
Mr. Pascal was one of the 3. That was my boss back in the day. But I guess it's grown a little bit from 3.
Looks like the quality may have improved too.
I bet the quality has improved greatly.
Do you have a spokesperson for this group? Officer Young, Lieutenant Young. Congratulations on behalf of your whole team. I would like to present the team of the first quarter to A shift team for the Columbia County Detention Center. I'll read a brief statement that was turned in on their behalf saying that they continue to accomplish their mission on a daily basis, which over the previous quarter included staff shortages of unfilled positions, personnel absent for long-term training. They're responsible for safety, security, and everyday tasks required of the detention center, as well as ensuring that inmates receive the supervision needed to accurately provide for and accommodate the inmates' basic necessities: shelter, clothing, food, medical care, and safety while incarcerated. They do all this while also keeping the public and staff safe from some of the worst in our society. These demands can sometimes be overwhelming with all the everyday tasks that are asked of them, even with a full complement of personnel. This team pulls together every day to cover all areas needed and to provide the residents of Columbia County services through this division of the Sheriff's Office available to them. A shift consistently performs with a high level of competency expected of them. And on a personal note, I will say that I have had the privilege of being a guest of the jails, always asked for a short period of time, of our detention center. And if you were to compare our facility with almost any other facility in the Southeast, anyone that I've been to, and I've visited several, the quality of the discipline, the way that facility is maintained and operated is impressive beyond words. So congratulations again to all of you. Sir, would you like to say a few words about your team?
Would you introduce each individual, please? Or have them introduce themselves?
There you go.
On behalf of A-Shift team, I'd like to say thank you for this honor. As you're working for the county, provides us with everything we need to get our job accomplished. The team consists of myself, which is commander, and Staff Sergeant Cooper, who's currently in school, Sergeant Lee, Deputy Concepcion, Deputy Cullinan, Deputy Taylor, Deputy Miller, Deputy Pfeffer, Deputy Pascal, Deputy Clemens, Deputy Knight, Deputy Reynolds, Deputy Painter, Deputy Fanning, Deputy Dawkins, Deputy Banks, Deputy Clementi. Again, on behalf of A-Shift, we offer this honor.
Thank you.
And from the Board of Commissioners, we appreciate what all of you do, whether you're at the detention center, out on patrol, or any other aspects of law enforcement. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I was wondering if Commissioner Allen could detail which jails he's visited and why.
Always by invitation. The best food is always usually found in the jails.
I'll bet.
Richmond County, Burke County, McDuffie County.
Okay.
And ours is, in all seriousness, far beyond compare as far as the professionalism and discipline of the environment. Thank you again.
And now the Employee of the Month. Commissioner Morris is going to make this presentation for the month of April 2017 to Jackie Cooper of Animal Services.
Gives me a great pleasure to report to Jackie purposes. Have Alan was saying dogs seem so tails. Jackie complimented by not only taking good care, also her co-workers.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Jackie Cooper, or as I like to call her, Jackie Super, moved down here from Wisconsin about 4 years ago and joined our team at Animal Services as an animal care technician. And upon her arrival, she brought with her a wealth of knowledge. She came from a private boarding kennel previously before coming down here to Columbia County, and brought with her a wealth of knowledge about proper animal care, proper sanitation techniques, so on and so forth. Jackie's dedication is second to none. When she's summoned to come up front to escort a customer looking to adopt a pet or identify their pet to reclaim the animal, she welcomes them with a smile. She's always there anytime that a customer or a citizen has a question of her concerning any of the animals that are in our care at the animal shelter. And every day she's prepared to work. She diligently takes care of all the animals that she's assigned to oversee, above and beyond to co-workers, and it's an honor to stand here in a public forum and thank her for her service.
Hi, I'm Mike. Jackie's been a real wonder for the animal services. She does a fine job. She's, like Daniel said, she's always been there. She's always done what she's asked and beyond. I just want to take this time to thank her and to thank Columbia County.
I believe we had the division director, Linda Glasscock, back there, didn't we? Just wanted to commend you on what a great job you do at animal control. Under presentations, we do have a request for one person to speak about an item we have on the agenda, and I think there are others here pertaining to the same thing. Is Lou Bandy here? Would you come on forward, Louis? This is concerning an item we have with the height of fences and their location on corner lots. Yes, would you give us your name and address?
Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Good evening, Chairman Cross and Columbia County Commissioners. My name is Lou Bandy, and I'm the president of Country Place Homeowners Association. One of our corner lot homeowners has requested to build a 6-foot brick slash wall fence 11 feet from the curb. This homeowner's name is Mr. and Mrs. John and Judy Teasley at 4454 Greystone Way. They requested a variance to Columbia County Ordinance 17-02 on June the 13th, 2016. And the Planning Commission voted and recommended disapproval of the request on July the 21st of 2016, and it was a unanimous vote. On August the 2nd, 2016, the Columbia County Commissioners meeting was to rule on this variance request, but Mrs. Teasley pulled the request just prior to the meeting starting. So, here it is, April the 18th, 2017, and Mrs. Teasley, who had her variance request to Ordinance 17-02 denied, now wants to change the ordinance to accommodate her own desires. My recommendation is to query the Columbia County homeowners to find out if this change is mandated, because there are thousands of corner lots, current and future, to be that will be affected. One corner lot owner and her friends and relatives shouldn't, I don't think, the way I look at it, shouldn't be an impetus to change a county ordinance, 17-02, covering fencing on corner lots. This has been in place actually for many years, according to the Columbia County Planning Division, which I talked to a few times, and there have not been any other requests to change this ordinance, as it's worked very well. The current setback for fences on corner lots protects against the possibility of roadway vision endangerment. Building a corner lot fence 30 feet from the curb, which is the current ordinance, would normally provide for roadway vision and not be a safety factor. One of my questions might be is, who will ensure that each fence that's built 10 feet from the curb and 6 feet high is in compliance with roadway safety issues? As you know, any person in Columbia County can build a fence less than 8 feet tall, and they don't need a permit. Country Place subdivision, we've got about 174 homes in the subdivision, and we have a number of corner lots. There are 6 corner lot homeowners in our subdivision who have fences built on their lots, and they comply with the Columbia County Ordinance 1702. I talked to a couple of other homeowners association presidents today, and they were both against changing this corner fence ordinance. Rivershire and Lake Cumberland Estates, as a matter of fact, Pete is in attendance, and so the covenants in a number of Columbia County subdivisions are worded to say that their fencing requirements follow the Columbia County ordinances. So if you change this ordinance, a number of our subdivisions will have to follow the ordinance, and do we want this to happen? This should be researched, the way I look at it, before a decision is made. Actually, I have a number of Country Place homeowners that are here tonight that are not in support of changing that ordinance of 17-02. So what I'm saying is I hope this information will help make the right decision to leave the Columbia County ordinance 1702 as it is. I was wondering if I was clear on what we were asking.
Let me ask you, Mr.
Yes, sir,
Does your homeowner's covenants have any restriction on fences?
they do.
Would it be in excess of what we're planning to do here, or
No. Well, our covenants match the current 17-02 ordinance.
so they would still stay in place?
Do they
Under
match
the
the
old, under
ordinance?
the old covenants, they will. We actually are putting some new covenants together that would match or would follow Columbia County ordinance.
But then your covenants would still be in effect regardless of what we do, correct?
Correct. But what we're trying to do is not take this individual to court and save a little money. And like I say, you've got how much of a research has done in the county. I mean, I had difficulty following this trail of trying to identify the changes. I mean, the first time you guys brought it up, it was, you talked about a 4-foot fence, 6 feet from the curb. And we don't have, in our subdivision, there are no sidewalks. So the curb and the road are basically the same. So if we've got, in this particular case, we have an individual that lives on a sloping hill that goes up, and that fence that she would be putting would be right beside one of our neighbors' driveways. They, I mean, it's not the most perfect situation. We've got lots of traffic that go around those roads. And this is just one incidence. And I was telling you, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of corner lots in the county. Who's going to, I mean, right now, this particular ordinance, if it's left in place, 30 feet from the curb, it seems fairly reasonable that there wouldn't be a safety issue. But when you put that 10 feet from the curb, at least a 6-foot fence, you're not going to see over it. Now, if you're walking and even driving, you're not going to see over it.
But let me ask one, Mr. Slaughter, I believe the regulation says it can't extend past the front edge of the house.
That's correct. No further than the front envelope of the
All
wall.
right, what is the setback for those houses normally from the street?
I think it's 35 foot on the right on that one. Is that right?
So the frontmost portion or the most forward portion of the fence could probably not be more than 30 feet odd from the curb.
From the curb.
Correct.
Well, then, all the traffic would be going around the front of the house, right?
Correct.
So we don't have a safety issue there, Mr. Council, do you think we do? Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Bandy?
Your HOA rules will still remain the same.
Our covenants, is that what you asked?
Covenants, I'm sorry, your covenants will remain as the code is now, correct?
Correct.
So you still, with an HOA, can enforce the covenants as you did?
This particular individual has violated our covenants 2 or 3 times already. Built a freestanding garage, added a second driveway, cleared the entire yard cut down all the trees and vegetation and replanted it. So we've warned this particular individual on a number of occasions. And indeed, we still have that ability to take the individual to court if necessary. But if we leave the ordinance the way it is, that's why one of the reasons that she feared, I guess you could say, Columbia County's ordinance, it was in place. And that's why she asked for a variance. She asked us if we would support her variance, and we told her no. So she went ahead, and your people voted not to approve it. So I'm curious as to why you're not following your own people's recommendations and why you're thinking about approving something that was already disapproved.
This is not on that Ms. Teasley's lot. This is for the whole county. We've had many requests for variances for corner lot fencing.
And how many is that, Mr. Richardson?
When I was serving on planning commission, there were several, and we had one just a couple of months ago in Mr. Cross's neighborhood. So this does come up. It may not come up 20 times a year, but it does come up. And for somebody not to be able to use their whole yard, I kind of question that.
Well,
You really want our ordinance to back up your covenants.
no, we want to keep the ordinance the way it is. As an example, you already have a system, it's called variance, to the ordinances that you have on the books. That's why you have a variance. So when somebody doesn't like what the rules they have that you've established many years ago, that I don't know that there's a problem with changing them. At least I haven't heard that.
Well, quite often, so this is actually how those ordinances either are created or are changed. You mentioned polling the citizenry. No, it's usually based on examples of 1 or 2 or 20 coming before us where we feel some adjustment could or should be made. And in this case, it brought to our attention some considerations of that section of 1702. And upon further review, based on the topography of certain sites, not everything being equal, it seemed that an overall change of the ordinance was called for. I mean, we discussed the variance at that meeting, and then we discussed the fact that it probably something we should change in general, that there were more than 1 or 2 occasions where this would have come into effect.
And one of the issues was to afford some privacy in the side and backyard for some of these residents, because you normally couldn't see over a 6-foot fence like you could a 30-inch or going to 42 or 48.
Well, we've told her on numerous occasions that the fence would be nice, and the fact that she could definitely put a 6-foot fence, but our issue is where she puts it. If she puts it 10 feet from the curb, that's not quite, and it's 6 feet high, way over my head. Not that I'm very tall, but that's our issue. And like I say, this is just one property, one location. And when you have that many corner lots in Columbia County, and it's continuing to grow, our issue is basically with the hazard it might impose with automobiles. And
we had discussion about the appearance of the fence as you drive up beside it and the larger fence. We did talk about that aspect of it in the past. Any further questions from Mr. Bandy? I believe we have some others out here about this issue. I know that one is mentioned. Would you like to speak to it, Peter? You good? Anybody else have any? Come on up and give us your name. And
thank you, Mr.
Thank you, sir.
Some of you know me. I'm Sean Hammond. I'm an attorney here in town. In regards to this ordinance, if the house was sitting on the lot, on the corner lot at an angle, it probably wouldn't be a problem. But the house in question that Mr. Bandy is talking about is sitting perpendicular to the street. And so the fence is going to be 10 feet from the street, how they want to do it, 6 feet high. And typically 10 feet, if you're backing up a car, is probably enough. You're backing out a car to see if there's traffic coming, or little Billy on his bicycle, or a school bus is coming. But what if I'm in a truck? What if I've got my bass boat on Tuesday morning and I'm trying to get to the lake? I'm backing out blind. Because if my driveway is next to that fence and I got a 12-foot boat, I can't see until I'm already in the street. And that's what we're saying. There's some obvious safety hazards here that everyone's overlooking. It's nice to have friends. I mean, I appreciate that. And it's nice to call your commissioner and say, I really need your help. This is really important to me as an individual. But if I'm backing up my bass boat and I hit a school bus, whose fault is it going to be? I'm pulling out blind. And that's what we're saying in our neighborhood and in other neighborhoods. And in order to protect the citizens And the voters in our neighborhood, we're saying, we're going to enforce the covenants. We're going to spend thousands of dollars in attorney fees. And Ms. Teasley's going to spend thousands of dollars in attorney fees. And why put people through that? I'm going to sue her. I'll sue the pants off her. I will, first thing tomorrow morning. I mean, why do it? Because as long as I've been in Columbia County, I've been here 50 years, it's been the law. Why are we changing it now? Because one person is saying, it's important to me that I bought this corner lot, I moved with the existing covenants, I moved with the existing laws, and now I want them changed. Why do we want to do that when there are possible consequences to this? And that's what we're saying. Why change now? Because one person has pushed this, has made repeated phone calls, and has made friendships. Now, there's nothing wrong with friendships. I mean, I know people, I'm always happy to do things for friends, but you have to look at the long-term consequences. Colonel Bandy spent most of his life in the military, spent many years in the military. You look at the long-term consequences.
I don't know that friendship with anybody in the county or here is a part of this decision.
I'm not saying there's anything nefarious going on. I'm just saying when you know people, you know.
I don't know.
You know,
I've never met this woman
Oh, no.
on before she appeared before us on April 2nd.
No, and I doubt she's called you directly either. So I'm not casting any individual dispersions.
Can
But
I ask
know
real
that
quick, Andrew, how long has 1702 been on the books, written this way?
9144. I'll note.
Okay, so about a decade, okay.
For a long time. And it was there for a reason, because people smarter than me said, this is a danger. And there may be everyone here, but we're concerned. We're concerned that one person is driving this. And it's a balance. It's a tough balance.
Again, Mr. Hammond, we just said we had somebody come up. It's been,
6 months-ish.
well, it's been in this year. And that's why the thing came up multiple times, is why we looked at there may be a need to change the ordinance.
I
It
understand.
was not this one individual that you're speaking of. It's multiple people coming before us. That's why the planning department took it to look at.
And that may be fine, and that's why we have the procedure that is here, whether you're here or Trey is here or any of us are here, that says when you ask for a variance, you have a public hearing. You have a modification to an ordinance, you have a public hearing. And those rules will be here. They were here before you came, they'll be after you come or after you leave. But the thing is that we're here to say, hey, look, we have identified potential problems with modifying this ordinance. That under certain circumstances, I could run over little Billy on his bicycle. I could back into a school bus. And so if you're doing this as a variance, that may be the more appropriate forum to say, you know, there may be more appropriate times when you want to grant a corner lot variance.
What would that change about your bass boat backing out? Whether it was a variance that allowed it or whether the ordinance was changed?
If there's a
Is that going to change your bass boat coming out of your driveway?
Well, if there's not a fence within 30 feet of the curb, then I have full access and full view of the street. And I'm
But
not-
if the variance is approved and now the fence is there, what does that change about your bass
I
boat?
won't be able to see the street. I'm backing out blind is what I'm saying. And so if I run into a school bus, unless I have someone in the street watching for a school bus or little Billy on his bike or, you know, Jimmy's grandmother who's out walking, there's a potential I could harm somebody, me or you or anyone that is next to a 10-foot wall, 10 feet from the street. And there's a lot of other considerations that we brought up at the time of the variance as well. So we're saying there's a problem. Colonel Bandy is saying, please reconsider. I'm saying that if you pass this, you're starting litigation that ought not happen. And so maybe we should have a second look, perhaps a sit down or whatever. How are we going to handle this? Fine. But it's going to cause trouble. That's all I'm saying. And I would ask that you respect that and the potential dangers that could happen. Not that will, but could happen.
Understand, thank you, both of you. Andrew, I'm a little bit lost on the history. What did planning and zoning say to the Have they seen these changes? I know you and I have had conversation about the advisability of going to 6 feet and what it is cosmetically around the neighborhoods. And I still got a little bit of concern about that, but we'll go on into our agenda, and I think it'll come up pretty quick, won't it? First of all, we go to our consent agenda. These are items that's been to the proper committee and received the necessary 3 votes to be placed on consent. If you're satisfied with this list, we'll accept a motion to approve all of these items as one vote.
So moved.
Second.
Any of these items needing any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay. I believe now we come down to our debate agenda, and I believe this is the first item. Commissioner Richardson?
Yes, sir. I make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 17-02 to amend Chapter 90 zoning Article 4, supplemental requirements, Section 90-144, placement of buildings and structures, repeal any conflicting ordinance to be effective after the second reading.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this?
Is there anything that should change?
I'm a little bit hesitant to approve this. I've been concerned about it and had a good bit of discussion all along. I'm really not comfortable with the 6-foot situation on corner lots. But that's just one person's opinion, so.
Currently,
Of course, across the rear and normal fencing from the house front back can be 6 feet. No, I guess
8 feet.
depending on the covenants. But you do have the situation of driving up on a corner lot, 6-foot fence, right?
Could happen.
But
Well, it seems to be the greater concern is neighboring lot on that, because a corner has 2 fronts, is the argument, opposed to. So the side lot having a high fence, since we're cutting it off at the building, that would eliminate an issue at the intersection. To the speaker's points, if you're a neighbor, one house in, you've got a 6-foot wall back to 10 feet from your property, backing out of your drive, obstructs your view. That's the argument.
Gentlemen, I would like to make a substitute motion that we return this to staff for further study.
Make the request. Well, you have to vote on the first, you can,
No,
is
you
that
do.
how it works?
No, you do the other motion and you vote on the last motion first.
Second.
Did you second that earlier? We have a substitute motion we vote on first, that we return this to staff. If it's approved, the other motion is moot. If it's defeated, we'll go to the next motion.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor of returning it to staff for further study, please raise your right hand. Okay. We will do that, and may or may not come back, and we don't know in what form it'll come back. But I agree that I think it really needs a little bit more consideration. Mr. Richardson?
Yes, sir. I make a motion to approve the first reading of Resolution 17-019 through 17-023 to establish streetlight districts in Magnolia Valley, Section 1B, Retreat at Baker Place, Section 2B, Patriots Ridge, Section 2, Stallings Ridge, Phase 1, and Deer Run Estates.
Second.
And of course, this is a, as you said, first reading. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Mr. Driver, I assume we have no legal matters?
We do not.
We do have a little bit of unfinished business. We go to a different part here. We go, find out where we go. We- Huh? Yeah, well, that's the items we hadn't done yet. We go to Commissioner, Vice Chair Duncan.
Sir. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Ashley Swain's employment contract.
I'll second.
And this is for the CVB Associate Director position.
Motion.
Succinct.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Then we go now to Mr. Richardson. No, I'm sorry, Mr.
Yes, sir, I think I have
Yeah, one more, I'm sorry.
I make a motion to promote Deputy Chief Jeremy Wallen to Fire Chief of Columbia County Fire and Rescue employment contract.
It should be to amend, I believe, his employment contract, Mr. Vice Chair.
To amend.
Do we know what we just said?
I do. Can we read again?
As long as she knows, she's the
Well,
important one.
the amend part was not in the motion.
Correct.
That's correct.
How about if I reread my motion, sir?
Please.
Make a motion to promote Deputy Chief Jeremy Wallen to Fire Chief of Columbia County Fire and Rescue and to amend his employment contract.
We have a second.
Second.
Anyone?
Do we have any? How long do we want to discuss this to see how white Jeremy turns?
I hope your house doesn't catch on fire. That's all I'm saying about that.
I didn't mess up the motion
Not
for
you,
you.
I'm talking about.
All in favor? Congratulations, Jeremy.
Thank you.
He does look a little nervous.
Oh, he yeah, for a minute. Y'all were playing with him there. Mr. Richardson, I believe we have one more item of business.
All righty. I make a motion to approve $495 to Martha J. Lyons, tax map 077A017B, to obtain temporary easement for the Evans to Lock Road multi-use trail.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Do we have any other business to come before this commission? Timing is perfect. I think the rain has stopped. Mr. Morris, since you're new back in town, do you have anything to say?
Second.
All in favor? We are adjourned.
I don't know how to fix that, Ron. I don't know how to fix that.